Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. If you are confused why you don't see Leanne Caruso up here, I'm actually Leanne. I'm just her chat avatar. I'm filling in for Leanne. She wasn't feeling so well, so I'm going to try to moderate the panel. The panel's got an esteemed group of people. Jennifer Blair, Stephen Montgomery, Deanna, Loychuk, and Lauren Rampello. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with this side.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Rampello Beacott. I am the founder and CEO of an organic airbrush tanning company called Pure Glow. We've been operating since 2015 and self-funded for many years, and recently decided to raise some capital so that we are able to pursue franchising nationwide. So we have a couple company-owned locations in Boston, and we're really set out to modernize the sunless tanning industry with better ingredients, better results, and a really elevated service experience.
Geez, I feel like I could just talk without the mic. Hi, everybody. I'm Deanna. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Our brand is 30 Minute Hit. I'm the co-founder. We are a women's only boxing kickboxing. We just have over 100 locations. We're in 4 countries. We're national in Canada. We're in 12 states in the US. We're open in Saudi Arabia, and we're just opening in Dubai right now as well. So I'm pleased to be here, and I'm pleased to be on this panel.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephen Montgomery. I'm the CEO and founder of ResiBrands. We started with painting franchise. I started a painting company years ago, but 2 years ago we started franchising it. In 2 years, our painting franchise grew to 170 units, and then we launched 2 other brands under my new parent company, ResiBrands. I'm not sure how I ended up on this panel with awesome female-led health and beauty brands, but I kind of think maybe it's because like painting is kind of like the makeup of a home, you know. So
It's because you and I look the part.
we do, yeah.
That's maybe what it is.
I'm gonna get into the beauty business, but anyways, that's about me.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jennifer Blair. I am the founder and CEO of Deka Lash. We are one of the 2 largest players in do-it-for-me eyelash extensions. I always like to say we're more than just eyelashes, though. We actually help build confidence in women. It's an instant gratification service. So what we do is people come in for their service and they walk out differently than they came in. We are sitting at about 130 locations now. We're also located in the US and Canada. And happy to be here and share some insight with you guys.
Lovely. My name is Hashmi. I'm the CEO and founder of a couple of companies, ClickTecs, which is a digital marketing agency. We have about 100 franchise brands. We do websites and search marketing and all of that fun stuff. And then on the weekends, I moonlight as a software company called FranchiseSoft, franchise management software. So in my past life, I knew a little bit about franchise sales and did that for about 12 years for a brand. So we did a lot of marketing during that time. And part of the things that we used to do was try to identify our target consumer. Now, when you talk about marketing from a franchise brand perspective, understand that there's 2 audiences. There's one set of audience that's for your consumer side, and a set of audience that is for your franchise development side. Those are the people that you want to target to open your franchise. And I'm hoping that we're going to be talking about both of those today, but I'd like to start by asking if you can tell me a little bit about your target audience and how you determined who your target audience was for your brands before you started marketing, because I think, especially on the consumer side. So perhaps we'll start with that, and if I can, I can start from this side, Jennifer, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about your target audience, how you identified who they were on the consumer side.
So as you can imagine, our target audience is primarily women who come in and get the services done. And they range from 25 years old up to 55. Basically, it's a diverse market, and each one of our locations are a little bit different than the other. So we identify that market as we open through marketing. But it's a pretty broad area. We are finding that it is a little on the latter side of the age. Once women even are more, their kids are older, they have more time for themselves now, they have more time to focus on themselves. That is a sweet spot for us. But we also see all ranges. So even in some of the studios where first I can remember some of our clients coming in, 10 years ago, where now their daughters are coming in, and they're coming in as, as side by side for their services. So their child has seen their mother getting their eyelashes done first, certain events or to keep up with them, and now that trickles down. So it's definitely a broad range of ages for us, which is good. So,
Can I just ask a follow-up on that?
Sure.
How did you identify that? Were there surveys that you did? Was there some level of demographic studies? Like, how did you come up with that data?
So we did surveys to put out there for surveys on the age. We also look not only on, but we look at income too. So household income. So there's certain demographics that we know, because you have to be able to afford the service to be able to come in and get your eyelashes done. We're a membership based. And so we have the surveys. We also, through our POS, we have our whole client database, so we're able to run different reports on those people just to kind of see who are our clients, who are the ones that stick with us the longest, and then we build our marketing platforms around those indicators that we get from that.
Lovely. Stephen, perhaps I can ask you the same, identifying your consumer side, target audience, who they were, and how did you figure that out?
We painting homes, so we kind of knew like who the homeowners were and who the decision makers were. And then when we started working on our marketing program that we were going to take nationally, we started identifying certain profiles, and so we gave it names and everything. So our primary target was Laura. She was 35. She drove a Suburban. She was a soccer mom. She shopped at Target. She used an Apple phone. Like, we built this whole persona around our ideal customer because she's the person that we noticed was most often the person deciding to paint their home. It was obviously husbands decide to paint too, but more often it was the wife picking the colors and hiring the painter. And so we built our brand. A lot of things we did on our website and stuff as well was built towards that. And then we built a second profile named Patty. Patty was 45. Her kids were a bit older. She's starting to think about how to redo her home for a new stage of life. And so we built out a couple different profiles, and we use those, and we ask ourselves questions for that brand, like whenever we're going to do an ad, does this meet more of Laura? Does this meet more of Patty? And then we did a commercial one as well, but that's sort of a different topic. And so we just really thought through who our customer was, and then kind of use that as a filter for whatever we're going to do, and make sure that it fits with that.
Okay. Deanna? And the only thing I would add is, in addition to identifying your target audience and how you did it, how did you cater your marketing differently for the different demographic groups that you wanted to target?
Okay.
Questions there.
When we started 19 years ago, this question was asked to us, who's your market? And I was, women. We're a women's only boxing, kickboxing. Of course, we're just women, and we're everybody. And we were at that time, but now as we've grown and expanded, the market has changed in boutique fitness. You have to read your data, and that's one thing that we do is we track everything we do, everything. And so it's quite funny because we just re-looked at our data over the last 2 quarters to see all of our new memberships, the age group, and we even asked our corporate team what we all thought that age group was. And we thought we were going after Gen X, which is my age, 44 to 58. However, 90% of new registrations were 33-year-old girls, which is millennials. And that's the market that we're targeting hard. It's the largest consumer market right now. That's the market we're going after. So all of our Facebook, social media, everything is targeted to that age group. Baby boomers have the most money to spend right now. That's great, but we know the millennials is the market that we're going after strong.
So was there changes in nomenclature, positioning, messaging that was different than what you originally thought when you were targeting the Gen Xs?
It's funny, fitness has changed a lot since COVID, and we're seeing this talking to other large fitness brands. One thing that's been very valuable to the fitness industry since COVID is we've all come together, all the big fitness brands, Orange Theory, Planet, us, Anytime Fitness, and we sit on panels together. And the fitness industry right now is really seeing that people are really bouncing a lot from different fitness programs. And so what we're trying to do is really push these annual memberships. You know, yes, we're in fitness, but we're in sales. And that's the one thing that you all have to remember. You're always in sales. That's what you're doing every single day. If you're selling cookies, eyelashes, whatever, you're salespeople. And so just to get back to that point is that, so we are looking at changing our ads and making sure that we're targeting that millennial market.
Interesting. Okay. And can we get Lauren to bring us to, again, any changes in marketing messaging and identification of your target audience on the consumer side?
Certainly. So kind of being fourth in line here, you know, certainly echoing a lot of what was already said. You know, you need to look at your data. You know, sort of in the tanning space, whether it's airbrush tanning, whether it's sunless, whether it's spray, whether it's UV, you know, people tend to think of tanning as a really young college students, 18 plus, and really in our clientele, we found a very different thing. So our core is really, you know, 25 to 45, but we're you know, predominantly attracting women, so very similar to, you know, sort of Deka, Lash and what Jen had said, but really people who are interested in, you know, cognizant of their personal appearance, but we're finding that we're attracting a lot of women, a lot of, you know, mothers who now, you know, have done a lot and are ready to now kind of invest a little bit more in their self-care. And so we're seeing a lot of that repeat business, and some of our, you know, most enthusiastic, loyal customers are actually coming from, you know, closer to that 45 to 55 range as well. And so again, you know, we have lots of data that we take in when a client signs up with us, and so really being mindful to look at that on a quarterly basis, an annual basis, and just see sort of which directions and things you're trending in, and then really the way that we sort of you know, take action on, you know, attracting the right person once we know a little bit more about who that core is we do a lot of that through sort of our content production. So we're making sure that we are showing, you know, visuals of, you know, who is the archetype, who is the person that's coming to Pure Glow, who's coming on a more regular basis, what brings people in. And I think, you know, being able to see that, we, you know, we get lots of calls and things like, you know, a daughter will be calling and they're making an appointment for their mother. And, you know, I found you online and I saw that, you know, you definitely cater to all, you know, all different ages. This is, and so I think that we're speaking a lot through our content and through our branding, and you know, you know, we definitely want to capitalize on, you know, who is our core customer, and so, you know, that certainly can change, but it has been helpful to dial in and know that even within our industry, you know, our brand definitely is a little bit more separated in terms of who our core customer is and what that looks like.
Okay, just as a follow-up on that, Steve, I'm going to throw this to you. I know you talked a little bit about, you know, looking at data, understanding your customers. Are there specific platforms that you're finding work best for Laura or for some of your other archetypes?
Yeah, so when we built those out, we did put that into our Facebook strategy and Instagram strategy, which worked for a really long time. Recently, it's not performing as well, so we've had to pivot more. But for a couple of years there, I would say 80% of our leads were coming from Facebook.
What has happened in Facebook? What are you noticing? Why the change?
I don't know. Once it stopped working, I hired a CMO, and it was her problem. She should probably be on the panel, not me.
Okay, and then Jennifer, if I can ask you the same, any platforms specifically that you find you're getting a lot of traction in?
So because we're in the beauty industry, as you can imagine, influencers play a big part in our marketing, and we use those. We're able to have the content from those influencers to repurpose. That works really well for us. And it also opens up for diversity too. So, you know, we're located in Pittsburgh where we would hold some of our photo shoots, but it's not, you know, as diverse as we would like it. So to be able to use those influencers have helped us out a lot.
Yeah, please.
So one thing we did do recently is we did a partnership with an influencer, and it was the best content we've ever made. Like, and I think looking back at it, like we had made a lot of content with me and my business partner about paint, and we should have just been doing influencer content for the last 2 years because it was by far the best content we've ever made. And it, from what I've heard, is starting to get really good engagement again. So, yeah, I think that's...
So, you know, I'm going to actually stick to that because influencer marketing, of course, on social media. How did you identify the influencer, and who was it? And, you know, how did that exchange look like? What did that exchange look like?
For us, it was one of our franchisees. We had been talking about it, and so he got connected somehow in his local city with an influencer who did a lot of sort of mom sort of content, as well as home decor. And we made a deal with her. Basically, she would make content, and then we would paint the home for free. And we did an exterior lime washing and brick painting, and then we got our vendors to provide the materials. And so, and then and since they were going to specifically mention that franchisee's location, he, I believe, paid for half of the labor. We paid for the other half of the labor. The vendors paid for the materials, and she made the content. And it was the best content I think we've ever made.
Jennifer, for yourself, who was the influencer? How did you find them?
So we hired we're with an agency, and we will give the service complimentary to the influencer. So they would actually come into the studio and have the service done and then talk about it afterwards. So it could be anywhere from a video that they actually enter in the studio, so you get the full what the studio looks like, them actually getting the service done, before and afters. And video content is great, right, for marketing. So that's like really big to just not only get videos, but out of those videos and clips, you can take pictures and get still pictures out of them and like repurpose them in many different ways. But it's really about them talking about the service, and seeing the before and after is really what sells, I think.
Deanna, Lauren, if I can ask you the same. Any experience with influencer marketing?
We've done it. We've touched a little bit on influencer marketing. Well, the one thing that we've noticed is that you have to be very careful, because they might say they have 100,000 followers or 500,000 followers, and they're all in India, which we're not there yet. We will be. But you have to make sure on those influencers where we really focus. We do it in a pie. So we do our Facebook, Instagram is 1/3, and all of our franchisees are required to have a minimum spend that they are required to spend every single month. We also do a big referral program within our company, so our members bring in their friends, they get reward points to buy more product. They can't use it against their monthly membership dues, because that's our franchisees' bread and butter. But we really, really promote this reward program. It works very, very well for our members. And then, of course, grassroots marketing. You cannot forget about grassroots. It works. Our franchisees are very involved in community events, local markets. They're doing high school auctions. And I know it seems silly and little, but you put up a pair of pink boxing gloves, and there's 300 elementary school moms, and they're like, I need to go hit something. And so those little things that you do that don't cost a lot of money, it takes your time, it is worth it, especially for emerging brands. But nothing can touch Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
But I just want to, if I can just say one more thing.
Yes.
So when you're doing your marketing, you have to remember, when we went into Saudi Arabia, we did all these photo shoots with Middle Eastern women. And the funny thing is Facebook, you'll put up all your ads, and then it's the consumer that will pick what is really they want to see. And it always goes to the blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. No matter where we are, we've done ethnic photo shoots all over for the U.S., in Brooklyn, and down in El Paso. It's the consumer that clicks on it, right? And the consumer will say, this is the ad that you should be showing, because it's the one everybody's clicking on. So be careful with that marketing. Make sure that you have a lot of different options for the consumers to see. And then they're going to tell you what they want to see, and they're going to click on it and click on it and click on it. And that's how you're going to get your leads, and that's how you're going to grow.
Yeah, no, it's such a valid point. And I think the only other thing I would say is have enough data so the algorithm actually has an opportunity to tell you which one of the 6 different ads would work,
And pivoting away from digital marketing, for many years we were, needing to be really resourceful, self-funded, a little more scrappy, and sometimes going back to the basics, especially for your franchisees entering these brand new local markets, can be incredibly effective. So SEO, making sure that if someone is in the Boston Metro and they're looking for our services, that we are the first ones that come up, and that that doesn't happen overnight, right? You need to really nurture that and stay consistent and be really precise and sort of measure and look at that as contribute on an ongoing basis. But that was really effective for us, and still is really effective today. So that'll be a strategy that we're definitely going to be encouraging our franchisees. And then the other piece, influencer marketing. Absolutely, if you can get them in for a service in exchange for content, it's a no-brainer, right? Mid-sized market that we are, Boston is kind of my sample size at the moment. We definitely have a lot of, we have a range in sizes, but we found that micro influencers can be so incredibly, powerful. And what I like to do is I like to take it one step further and really, just beyond kind of repurposing the content and using the content, ask some questions about the experience. What could we do better? What are they familiar with? And really kind of using it as an informational gathering. They often want to leave us a review. They often want to go above and beyond when you really give them that great experience. So you can really turn something as simple as, influencer marketing and, have it resonate and be productive, make an impact beyond just a social platform.
And I'll get you in a second. Hang on. I didn't hear anything about TikTok. I mean, everybody's Facebook and Instagramming. Is there, you guys doing anything on TikTok?
We're kind of dipping our toe into TikTok, and it's really interesting. We got in a little bit late. We probably only jumped on a few months ago. But what's interesting, where I feel like the real opportunity was, a year and a half, 2 years ago. But that being said, we still, we'll still have things, go from 0 to 3,000 in, a day or two. So it's interesting. I think it's fun to learn a lot. Again, that's not really where our core is living, our core demographic, but depending on your business, I think that it, it shouldn't be discounted.
And sorry, Deanna, you were going to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add Google reviews. You can't ignore Google reviews. So every single client needs to give you a review. This will help keep your lead costs down. It's so, so important when someone sees your brand on Instagram, sees you on a bus stop, sees you somewhere, and then they go to your website and there's no Google reviews. It's the worst thing. We require our franchisees, we require 5 Google reviews per month. Mm-hmm. It's so, so important.
Lovely.
And I would say to piggyback off of that is to make sure that you respond to the Google reviews too, both good and bad, because when they're looking at reviews, they want to see that they're being responded to. So I think it's important both ways, just, not only bad but good, but that's really important too.
Yeah.
We even take screenshots of those amazing Google reviews and then put those on social media, and that's gold. So that's another great idea.
Yeah. Anything on TikTok?
No, we haven't really tried TikTok too much yet. It is part of our plan for the future. Is I think TikTok users are getting older and older. More older people are coming into TikTok, and also people who've been using TikTok are now getting older and to the point where they might be considering buying homes. So it is part of our future plan, but it's not currently something we're doing.
I'm going to switch it up today for the last 20 minutes and talk about the franchise development side, because I know there's a lot of brands that want to know about how do we target franchise candidates, and from a marketing perspective, let's go back to our basics. How did you identify who buys your franchise? Let's start, Lauren, maybe.
I probably have the least to offer because we are officially launching our franchise offering next month. So we do have one multi-unit sell under our belt, but that we are very much still novices. But what I can say is that in kind of an effort to create an archetype and figure out really who are we, it's going to be a fit for both sides, right? So who are we really going after? What are we looking to attract? We're really focusing on on promoters, on people that are connectors, that are very empathetic. We're in the people business, but the way that you treat your team and how you develop and engage that team is really, really important in our business. And so I think that, we're really looking for people and aiming to attract people that, of course, align with our values, but those being, really understanding and appreciating the value of good service, and those who, sort of, naturally are your promoters, your connectors, that want to be in our studios, that want to develop those relationships with our best clients, understand and know what's going on with our, with our small teams, even when they're outside of our locations. And so we're focusing a little bit more on some of these
I'm going to
soft
jump
skills.
Across Jennifer. Talk to us a little bit about franchise candidates and who they are for your brand.
Well, in the beginning, we weren't really sure. We have a diverse background of franchisees now that come from all walks of life. But now that we're bigger in size, we can go back and look at what those top performers are and who they are, and kind of when we interview people, let's say, interview them through Meet Your Team Day, we look for people, power couples are really good for us, front end, back end work. Also, somebody's looking to make a difference in their community because it really is a community-based business. So you have to be able to, with any business really, be able to get out there and sell yourself. Some people think they're going to put a sign above the door and people are just going to come in, and that's not the case. You're buying into a concept, but it still takes work to do that. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable with, being involved in the community, putting themselves out there. And if they're not, then they have somebody else who can do that for them, right? Some people may be more introvert or extrovert, but the idea is we definitely let them know what the expectation is to be able to be successful, and then we let them decide if this is the fit for them. So we are definitely upfront on what it needs, what it takes to be able to run the business. When we go through our sales process, once they get to us, the leadership team, it's really at that point, we're not really selling them. It's more like lifting up the hood just to see if it's a good fit, right? So we describe what we want, and then we listen to what they think they're getting into, and then that's kind of how we move forward with the decision making.
Stephen, your franchise candidates, who are they?
So whereas with our customers, it was about demographics. With our franchisees, it has nothing to do with their age, sex, or what car they drive. And it didn't even have anything to do with what background they came from. I think only out of however many franchise owners we have in the paint side now, I think only 3 of them came from a painting background. Maybe 1 more came from a construction background. The rest came from, one was a truck driver, some were teachers, some were tech sales, some were medical sales, like all sorts of crazy different backgrounds. And we have young guys killing it, older women killing it, and doing really well. So the demographics and the background didn't really matter to us all. And I think the more that we've seen the success of our franchisees, we've really noticed that it really doesn't matter whatsoever. It really matters if they're a good culture fit and if they have the characteristics of a good franchisee. And so for a culture, we through the entire Fran Dev process, we tell them, look, the number one thing that we're trying to accomplish here is to make sure that you see that we have great people and a great culture and that you're going to fit well into that. And so during that process, they're getting to know who ResiBrands is, who that one painter is. And you'll find that as they see that we have certain things about us that we're very strong on and don't let go of at all. Some of the ones we don't want, I don't have to tell them no. They all opt out. Because we say things like, hey, only A team allowed, no B team players, there is no bench. We say a lot of phrases like that, that the B team players get intimidated and walk away. And so the people that I'm almost always, not perfectly, but almost always, we can, just by displaying all our culture and our expectations very strongly up at the front, we get the candidates we don't want to sign to actually back out. And because we work with consultants, we don't like to have to tell the consultant we turn down another one of their client. And so to get the client to turn us down is a lot better. And so we try to do that as much as we can so that we're not working with a consultant who we say, hey, we just turned down 3 of your clients or something like that. We can just kind of, through our process, allow them to opt out. And I think that plays into a lot with also how we do content. And you attract what you are, but a lot of franchise brands, I don't think they display who they are enough. And so we put out a lot of content about our brand, about our team, about our values, about who we are. And then in the Fran Dev process, they're watching a series of different videos. They're being sent shorts, they're being sent long form videos, podcast links, all sorts of stuff. And they're either like falling in love with Resi and want to be a part of it, or they're opting out. And and that allows us to help attract who we are. And so we don't have to turn down too many people because we can actually just steer them in a better direction that might be for them, and they come to that conclusion themselves. Obviously, you still need to turn some people down. Some people will be maybe still convinced it's a good decision for them, even though it's not.
Okay. Thank you. Deanna, if you can speak a little bit about your franchise candidates, and I'm going to add on a little bit more.
Sure.
I want to know what marketing tactics or platforms are you finding are working for you in your search for franchise candidates?
So we've been franchising for 17 years, and in the beginning, it was very organic. So our very first franchisee was one of my members at 30 Minute Hit. She's still with us today as a franchisee, and now she's our director of operations for the corporate team. And in fact, we have many of our franchisees on corporate, which is quite rare in the franchise world. Our VP of Fran Dev owned 3 franchises at one time, and now she's solely just VP of Fran Dev for us. So over the years, we've done portals, we've done, franchise broker networks, biz buy sell ads. Our buyer has changed. Like I said in the beginning, we grew very organically with members becoming owners, trainers at our 30-minute hits, loving the lifestyle, loving what they were seeing, loving to see the owner's lifestyle, making all these women feel good. So we've had many trainers by locations. In the USA, right now we have 40% of our owners are vets, military vets, very, very good candidates. They love following a process. They love following items, just to tick off, and we've had great success with that.
Where have you found them?
Sometimes they find us, sometimes it's through broker networks. I am part of VetFran. I don't know if you're familiar with VetFran. We're part of that organization. So right now we are doing biz buy sell ads. We don't do Facebook ads for candidates. That's not what we're doing on Facebook. We are using some broker networks. We are getting referrals now. We're finally hitting that stage in the US where we're getting referrals from members at 30-minute hits here in the US wanting to buy franchises. Husband and wife teams are fabulous for us. We love husband and wife teams. So that's a great candidate for us. The one thing that I will mention for emerging brands is you need a good system to funnel your leads, especially in the beginning. If you're using portals, if you are doing Facebook ads and all these leads are coming in, make sure you have a really good system to funnel all those leads. We use a system called Discover My Franchise. I'm going to give them a plug. It's my son, but I am going to plug them. And it's a fabulous system to be able to funnel all your leads coming in. And it's a discovery process where that candidate learns all about your system, and then you learn about them, and it's a give and take. And so those candidates go through a system, and the final step is meeting my husband and I. We know so much about that candidate, and at that point, it's either if we're going to award them a franchise or not. We don't sell franchises, we award franchises. We say no a lot, and I know it's hard in the beginning. Everyone wants that check. Everyone's talked about that for emerging franchises, but have we made mistakes? Yes, of course we've have. Every franchisor here in this building has had the wrong franchisee in their system. But you learn, you know what questions to ask, and you take your time in making sure that they are going to fit your core values. So make sure you know what those core values are in your system.
Lauren, you want to add anything with regards to that? I will say one thing. If you haven't read a report that came out called the Franchise Sales Index Report, and I'll actually piggyback on what Deanna was saying, understanding what metrics you need to know what's happening in the market so that you have the proper expectations, right? So if you haven't read this Franchise Sales Index Report, they actually looked at several thousand deals that were done across multiple different years. And they took a look at breaking down lead conversion ratios from portals, from brokers, from Google, from Facebook, and so on. And so it's so important to have a system in place to be able to kind of sort through that, because no amount of manpower will allow you to sort through 400 leads to get to a deal. And so some of the portals out there, like the conversion rate that was mentioned was like 0.3. So if you do the math, that's like a lot of leads. And knowing that half the leads don't even get contacted, you've got to make sure that system is in place with a layer of automation. Brokers had a high conversion rate, of course. Existing referrals, really big, and you're attracting someone that already knows your brand. Anything on this side on other channels that you find are good to find franchise candidates, especially for maybe emerging brands?
I don't know if what my opinion is what maybe is commonly accepted, but anybody who's breathing in the beginning, like you need to sell something. I'm sorry, you have to. So like my business partner and I, we opened up our contacts and we just said every single person here is a potential franchise candidate. And we started making phone calls and we said, hey, you know this painting company? You've heard about it? Like, hey, do you want to hear a pitch on why you should open up a painting company? Or no? Okay, who do you know who might be interested in that? And so we sold the first 6 or 7 that way, and some of them killed it and did amazing. Yeah, and a couple of them didn't. But there's statistically, most franchises don't ever sell a franchise in the first 2 years. David Barr said yesterday, in the last 10 years, 2,500 franchises have started to franchise and then failed at it or could not sell any. And so there's a lot of validation. You can get better at validation and all that later. In the beginning, you have to sell something. You have to prove your concept. And so get out there and do it. Call every single person in your phone book. And then go down every single avenue. We early on sold one through portals. We started selling some through consultants. We've sold some through Facebook groups, LinkedIn direct messages. You got to try everything and then double down on the ones that do the best for you. But in the beginning, just sell something, because you don't want to be one of the 68% of franchises that don't sell a single unit in the first 2 years.
Jennifer, anything from your side on and platforms where you're finding maybe the secret sauce?
Well, I mean, early on, we did similar things like that. So we actually went and reached out to other franchises that we, looked at their FDD, saw who was on there. We went through their LinkedIn. I actually had handwritten notes that I sent people that belong to other brands, introducing myself and our brand, figuring if they're already into a franchise, they understand how that works. And that they would be, more likely to understand what we were looking for. So we did get a handful from that in the beginning, and it was just, very, roll up your sleeves of whatever we could do to just try to get our name out there. Brokers were a big hit for us too. So in the beginning, they really did put us on our map. And I think like what you said in the beginning, when you're first franchising and you don't have anybody to validate your story, it makes it really hard. So arguably those first 5 or 10 franchisees are your most important ones, because once you can start handing those off to be able to say, well, ask them, call the other franchisees, because there's only so much information, right, like you can give out as a franchisor. But once you get those first 5, 10 studios open, that's huge, because now you have somebody else to validate your story and their opening and being successful.
Yeah, cool.
So we've sold a lot of units in the last 2 years, and it's come with some trial and error. But one of the things I would say to, if there is any newer franchisors in the room, but is that you have to apply that same hustle that you did to start the business in the first place. Like, just announce that you're franchising and magically people show up to your door and sign a franchise agreement. It doesn't work that way. And so just like when you announced that you were in business, you didn't just magically have customers show up, right? Like for me, I started out as a 21-year-old who didn't want to work for people, and I went and knocked on doors to find customers who wanted their house painted. I didn't know anything about marketing or business. I just knew how to talk to people and paint. And so you have to apply that same sort of hustle, because most of the time, for most brands, consultants are not going to be interested in a new brand. You don't have any validators. You haven't proven the concept very well yet. And so if you're going to go that route, you need to get something started, get some validators, as she said, get those happy 5 franchisees even, and however you can get them. So just apply the same hustle that got you started in your initial business to your new business, which is franchising.
Yeah, sorry, go.
Yeah, I can't say that enough. In the beginning, you're going to wear so many hats, and that's okay. You're not going to have this massive team probably in the beginning. You're going to have to wear many, many hats. But hustle, that's what you have to do every single day. I've been doing this for 17 years. I hustle every single day still. And don't have this vision that once you hit 20 locations, you're going to be hustling when you hit 100 locations. You're going to be hustling when you hit 200 locations. It's work, but it's fun. You got to love it, right? The one thing I am going to say, make sure your franchisees are well-funded. That's the big, I think that's your biggest error, is making sure that if they're not well-funded and they don't have good equity or good funding, it's the worst.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest tip, well-funded franchisees.
I'll say a couple of things I heard recently from a client of ours in the home services space, and said, you know what, I sold my first franchise from it, not first ever, he's sold a bunch, but he goes, my first ever from a channel that I'd never heard of it, from TikTok. And I said to him, I said, how did you get a deal from somebody out of TikTok? And he said, you put a bunch of these short form videos out. And he goes, one of these individuals actually directly messaged him from TikTok, and then got him in the process, ended up buying a territory, which was, to me, I was like, wait a minute, this is novel, because you oftentimes don't hear it, especially with Facebook. If you're running franchise ads, now they're being classified in the employment sector. And if they are classified as employment ads, you can't demographically target 35 to 55-year-olds, right? So you end up getting a lot of the younger 18 to 65.
I was also going to say, put that you're selling franchises everywhere, on your website, on your brochures. If you have any visuals in your studio, just, everywhere have that link available. So even if it's a consumer, looking, or they know, you never know who knows somebody that knows somebody, or they're really passionate. So that's another place just to put everywhere that you're, buying a franchise, looking to buy a franchise, that link that takes you back to the page.
I've got a short acronym that I want you guys to write down. It's called ILWED, I-L-W-E-D. I came across this concept a while ago, and it really talks about how people, make decisions, and why people make decisions, especially when it comes to purchasing franchises. And so it's ILWED: income, lifestyle, wealth, equity, and debt reduction. So income, lifestyle, wealth, equity, and debt reduction. So when you're catering your marketing messages to your identified audience, because now everyone is going to know who their identified audience is, that's what this panel did for you, right? Helped you identify that audience for yourself. When you're gearing marketing messages, after you understand who your target audience is, pepper in some of those ILWED, income, lifestyle, wealth, equity, and debt reduction lines into your advertisement, into your messages, if you're using LinkedIn, a pretty cool concept is, if you find a brand, if you're looking at selling to multi-unit owners, you can actually run advertisement or searches on LinkedIn, owner of Jersey Mike's, owner of Deka Lash. And if you've got a complementary brand, now they can go out there and get a list potentially to target. And you can use AI and teach it to build in ILWED into personalized messages, which you can then send to, I gave the farm away. I shouldn't have said that. No. But this is a great way to personalize those messages and really target a target audience on LinkedIn. I know we've got probably another 5 or 6 minutes. If there's any questions in the audience from our panelists, before I do any closing thoughts here? Okay. Any final words of wisdom from a marketing standpoint for a lot of the emerging brands in order to make sure that, if they could walk away with one thing, because I'm sure they took so many notes, one thing from a marketing perspective that can help them get to that first 5, first 10, first 100 units, what would you recommend? And maybe we'll start from the left and then go to the right. So, Lauren? Yeah.
I'm going to share some advice that was shared with me recently, and I think for our brand and our culture, it's really important, and that is lead with the heart. I'm very passionate about what we're doing in our larger goal of what we're hoping to bring across the U.S. And so I think that we're really going to be attracting our first sort of core franchisees who really believe in what we believe in and are really mission driven as well. And so that's, I think, as an emerging franchisor, that's really a focus for us right now.
Okay. Okay, Deanna?
That's very good advice. I think we've done that path as well. We're very, we're strong as franchisors, but it's that saying I've heard here today or over the conference is you have to have empathy, but not sympathy. And so you have to be able to listen to your franchisees, but you have to be strong as a franchisor as well. Always be strong. Always let them know you're the one in charge. It works. They respect you. One thing I was going to say, what we do always on LinkedIn, and this is another just good tip because it reminded me, is that about a month after every new franchisee opens their doors, we do an interview with them, and then we post it on LinkedIn. We just posted one today actually this morning from a new franchisee in Bend, Oregon, and it's a fabulous interview. If you want to go there and look at it to get ideas, it's on our 30-minute hit LinkedIn site. I think its video is very good, and it's, it's a 10-minute video asking her what the process was like, why she got into franchising, what the process was from start to finish to now being in operation for a month. And that's a great way to sell your brand. So,
Okay, Steve?
I think like with marketing, really define very clearly what your brand is, who you are, how you're going to present yourself. Stick to like a core, and then be flexible on everything but that. So if you know exactly like these are the phrases, this is like our core of what we want to attract and who we want to be, and then from there you have to be extremely flexible because things change all the time and you never know what's going to work. But you also don't want to shift away from your primary core. So once that's defined, then be really, really flexible from there. So
Okay, and Jen?
I think that people, as far as bringing in new franchisees, if you're a founder and involved in the business, to make sure that your voice is heard. They feel a comfort knowing that somebody behind the scenes actually has that passion and that care, and you're walking the same footsteps as them. So I would say as much as you can get yourself out there in front of whoever to tell your story, to tell the passion about why, people really resonate with that. And that's been one of our successes, just letting them know that for instance, I still have 2 studios myself. So whenever I'm talking to our franchisees and I'm, walking step by step, I have the same pain points, the same celebrations as they do. I can wear that hat too. So not only am I at the top, I'm not just talking the talk, I'm actually walking the walk too. So I would say as far as marketing goes, if you can put yourself out there as much as possible, that would help your brand grow too.
And thank you very much. And the only thing I would say is fail early in marketing and recover quicker. So, try. Action always beats inaction or indecision. So if you've got a few ideas, try them. The earlier you try them, and let's say if some of them fail, the quicker you can recover to get towards the right path. So if I leave you with anything today is you've taken some great notes, we've had some great feedback from the panelists, but put action to some of the things that you've heard today. Without that, it was just great to hang out. But with that, you can possibly go out there and have a success story that we can all leverage the next year here. So how about a great round of applause for my panelists. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time, and for all of you all folks. And we are 2 minutes early.